Hi, okay, welcome to Make or Repair. I'm Pete Shersby, and today I'm looking at this Technika television. Now, it may look like it is completely dead as we look at it at the moment, but in actual fact, the backlighting isn't on, and there's a tiny bit of interference coming on the screen. You might be able to see it's just flashing away. So my guess with this is that it's probably either something on the power supply side of things or just the backlight. So I'm going to start taking it apart, and of course we're looking at a lot of Phillips screws here. So for those interested, this is a Technika model X19/18, and it's got some VGA HDMI inputs and things like that, as well as YPBPR audio input as well for VGA and S-video and things. So it's quite well connected if it can be made to work, and it will be good for things like old computers and things like that. Obviously there's a DVD player here. Over here, I think this is the power supply for the fluorescents, 4 of them. There's our main power supply there. If we look at this capacitor just here, and this one just here, and this one just here, they are significantly domed. So the big one along here, that doesn't seem to be suffering. Looking at the rest of them on the board, most of them aren't vented, and they all look okay. It's just these ones on the power supply along here. So taking a bit of a look here on this board, which is obviously the driver for the backlight, yeah, I don't see any issue with that. But our start for 10, of course, has to be that we do have power going to that board in the first place. So first I'm going to take a look at this job here. And so here's our little power supply board with its 3 bulging capacitors. Okay, so I've got some fairly decent quality ones, 1000 microfarad, 25 volts. So I'm just going to pop these off, and I think this is leaded solder on here because it is incredibly shiny. Okay, let's move that out of the way and just test these 3 capacitors then. So this one is measuring 45 microfarads at 44 microfarads, 43, and falling. So 40 odd microfarads at about 35 ohms. This one's marginally better at 59 microfarads, 22 ohms. And this one, 21 microfarads, 66 ohms. Alright, let's get the new ones back in. 1000 microfarad, 25 volt, 105 centigrade. So this is just Blu-Tack. Other brands I'm sure are available. Get it soldered, and then we are up and running, hopefully. I think I'm going to work on the rest being okay, although this is that same dodgy make. It's 100 microfarad, 25 volts. Maybe I'll just replace that one as well, and then that's the whole of that section just replaced. 100 microfarads. Then I've got some Rubicons here, 100 microfarad, 25 volts, 105C. I was just about to pop a Panasonic in there, but then I realised it's only 85C, so yeah, it's next to a heatsink. Actually, that's a pretty bad piece of design, wrapping a heatsink around your big capacitors. Yeah, not ideal. And when I've finished, I'll pop a little bit more silicon in there just to hold it. But let's take this guy off, if you wouldn't mind popping off for me. I suspect this one might be alright, but given that 3 out of the 4 capacitors of that specific make have gone, I think it's only prudent to tackle the one remaining. So yeah, same make, same everything, except 100 microfarad. So let's have a quick look at this one, if I can. That goes on the positive. Okay, yeah, so 94 microfarads, 890 milliohms. So that's probably all right. But I'm not going to put it back in again. I will put a nice new Rubicon in place. Get the TV reassembled, and let's see if we've got any progress. So there we go. A bunch of capacitors replaced. They do need just gunging together a little bit to stop them flapping around, but basically they're replaced. I'm now going to just connect up the power side, close the lid but not screw it together, and let's see if we get any life out of it. Well, we've still got a red light, so that's good. It comes off standby. I can hear the speaker, I can see a flash, and whoa, there we have it. DVB, BBC One, I think we're there. Obviously it doesn't like the fact that I haven't got anything connected as an input. So I'm going to put this back together now, and then we'll try and put something in it just so we can see it playing. That way I'll call it repaired. Alrighty, here we go then. Okay, so I've tried to pop a DVD in there and it was not happy, but I'll take a look at that. Let's have a quick glance at the DVD. It might just be more power problems. Alright, let's have a look at the DVD connections, because there appears to be no life on the DVD at all. Physically it's looking okay. There's a tiny belt on here. It looks a little loose, but it seems to be intact and okay. This is our DVD connector. We've just got this pair of ribbon cables. This had been removed, but yeah, that's the right way around, which is finally in. Then push that back, and that should grip. That's good. And then we'll replace that tape just to help give it a bit more. And I see no separate power at all. So the mechanism itself, assuming the motor will run, is absolutely fine. Here's our 3-volt motor running out to here. There's a travel switch down there, and of course another motor here. So let's see if I can get this powered up a little bit. So at this point I'd expect that motor to be starting to run up, and literally take this DVD off my hands. Nothing happening there at all. Obviously nothing on that at all. And take a good little look at this for a minute or two. So looking from this side, I can see some switches up here and then some wires down here with switches. So that activates this switch on this side. Off, off, or not depressed, not depressed. That one gets depressed first. I go in just a little bit further, that one gets depressed. At that point I would expect a motor to take hold of this and draw it in. Let's test whether these switches are working. So if I just supply a little 3 volts, I'm going to try and drive the load mechanism. There we go, load mechanism running. Don't know if you can hear that, but it certainly is. Sounds pretty rubbish, but it's definitely spinning. So all the motors spin. Recheck this connection. This is a connector coming back from the DVD player onto this board. So I think I'm happy. Okay, that's exactly straight. I can hear the motor running. We're up and running. And there we go, DVD video. Not a lot else is working, it has to be said. Okay, the DVD is definitely sitting on its spindle now, it's just not spinning. And no, it won't eject either. It looks a little bit loose and also a bit iffy. So I'm just going to turn the power off. And we'll pop that board off and just see if there's anything we need to do on that board. I mean, clearly this is supposed to be controlling the DVD among a few other things. So this is that connector that I was interested in. We've got ground, IR, and then I think these are actually the switches K0, K1, K2. On this side of the board, all of those connections do look good. The ground was looking a little bit dodgy from the other side, but it's only because the solder hasn't run all the way through. I'm going to just check that my ground is getting through, I think. So if I test from this ground here, must be ground playing to this pin here. Yeah, we can see our ground getting through there. And it should be on one of these pins over on this side as well. Not quite sure which one. There it is. There's our ground getting across to our switches. So while this is out, I'm going to take a really good look at these 2 connections. So what I've got in mind is to pull out each flat flex in turn and just make sure that it's properly seated and clean and everything when it goes back in, so that there's no skews or anything to cause any short circuits or missing connections. Press the eject button. Nothing. So seeing we've had enough power coming through in order to enable this DVD player to actually load, unload, to wind up its motor. So I'm not thinking there's any power problem with that, just a control problem. So let me just take this ribbon cable out to make sure it's in good condition. So this cable here carries the voltages. This one here is the signal from the laser head. Let's see if we can just trace through the power to the other end of this ribbon cable. 6 is positive. That's positive, there's the negative. So we're going all the way through, not a problem. I'm just laying my connector on there just so that I can just connect it to any old thing. Yep, they're fine. So I'm happy, you know, this is connecting. Yeah, I'm really not seeing why we have any sort of problem at all. So at this exact moment that I really wish I hadn't taken this out. I'll unscrew this, that'll make life easier. So I'm just having difficulty getting everything back onto this board. So I'm just going to trace another signal through in a second just to be sure that this cable's connecting and has no breaks in it. I'm not really worried about this because this is our kind of head data. The least of my worries at the minute. I need to disconnect this so I can get my connection made a bit easier. Okay, we're slipped home nicely. Very happy with that. That is completely connected perfectly. Let's just double check it one last time. Oh, and it's spun up. Maybe. And it's spun down. So reseating the cable has enabled the power to get where it's supposed to go, but it's failing because it's not reading the data from the disk. Press the eject button. It ejected. It accepted. It's spun up and it's ejecting correctly. So that's interesting. That would tend to imply then that that cable was the problem. Perhaps just not seated properly, because it is quite an awkward one to get in and it's clearly being wiggled in. I'm just going to clean that. Take a look at this with the thingy. No, don't see any debris there. Okay, so let's just take a final look and just see if there's any other cabling issues. So I've checked this cable, well, I think we're okay with that. I'm going to double check its connectivity in a second. So here we go on the underside here. This is our power connector just here. And it's a little hit and miss. It likes to come loose if it can. And here is our head connection just here. Just to make sure they're clean before I put them back in again. And just inspect them to make sure nothing's pulled them out of place, and give them a little jagged edge that might short circuit it, but I don't see any. Good connection there. This is a piece of double-sided tape that has completely lost its stickiness. Let's get a new piece. That's just to hold the cable in place. Having just reseated all those cables, I will just give it one last run. We can hear our DVD running. I can see the words DVD video on the screen. And there she goes. And it proves to just be reseat the connections. Right, let's get it put back together. Hopefully you'll see this is set to DVD at the moment. Actually, I don't know which way around this disc goes. The other side at the back. Crossing fingers, it's reading. DVD. Okay, we don't seem to have any problem with the backlighting or anything like that. So I assume if I press the play button, hopefully it will do that. And here we go, the movie's off and running. Yep, we can change the volume and so on. Okay, and I'm going to leave it at that because I do not want it to turn into some sort of annoying copyright issue. Where's the stop button gone? Yeah, stop worked. Whew. And eject. And here's my disc. Oh, that's a relief. It's always a relief when the disc comes out again. Okay, so I am pretty happy with that. I do have some video game consoles and whole computers and things to test. And what I'll do is I'll use this to test those. I don't know that this one, I don't see any DVB or anything like that written on it, although, hang on. Yeah, so there's your digital video broadcast. DVB up there, then TV, analog TV. So yeah, we should be able to connect this up to an antenna and see it working okay. And it should work with digital TV and things like that. So yeah, all seems good. Right, let's power this down. It just could do with the remote control. And rather surprisingly, here is the remote control. It's had a little bit of leakage going on in the back here. We'll give that a bit of a clean up. Oh yeah, definitely. This is looking a bit crunchy. I've taken the lid off. We can see that obviously there's been a little bit of leakage around the battery, but it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look disastrous at all, but when I turn this over, we can see that it has actually, in fact, leaked through. Yeah, it's looking a bit ugly. I think it will just be a cleaning job, I hope. A bit worried about this side a bit, but anyway. And I'll quickly wipe these contacts down with some citric acid. Now that has pretty much got this cleaned on this one. This side is what I'm more worried about. So I think that that's now clean. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to wash this with distilled water. Okay, so there it is. Now we'll just give that a last brush over and clean up, and fingers crossed that will do us. Okay, this is an anti-static brush. Remove any stuff. Yeah, I reckon that'll be so. And it's just let that dry while I attend to the bit that's left in the case. Not too bad again. You can probably see it bubbling just in the corner there. There you go, you can definitely see it there. That's just as it reacts with the base hydroxide. But as you can see, it doesn't take a lot to get it clean. So for cleaning, I just use this. This, as you can see, is a squirty washer filled with distilled water. And yeah, it's pretty good. It provides a very fine jet. So we can give this a light dry over for most of it, and then again we'll just let it sit and dry. I'm just going to wipe these down with a bit of alcohol just to make sure they've all got good contact, and just give the remote control a quick clean while it's apart. And these rubberized, maybe a nail brush or something like that. Unfortunately, I didn't record testing the remote control after I reassembled it, and it didn't work. Loads and loads of the tracks had actually broken underneath the IC. So I've taken the IC off, I've repaired the tracks as well as I can. I've kind of traced out the actual track layout, what goes where under the IC. I'm just going to double check each connection, and then for each one that isn't present, I'm going to attach something like this, very thin. So this is 28 AWG PTFE wire, super thin, and will be ideal for just making up any tracks that need fixing. I'd hope to do it by just putting copper under here and soldering it up and hoping for the best, but it was not to be. Not everything has connected up, and some of the tracks that I thought weren't broken actually turned out to be so. So yeah, not the best. I intended actually to check each track before I put this IC back on, but I forgot, and I'm not taking the IC off again, and there was a limit as to how many times I will take an IC on and off. So let's have a little trace through, see if we can't figure out what is and isn't working. Let's get myself on continuity to begin with. Lovely. And back to the microscope, and we'll start tracing out some of these little wires. Sounds fine. Here's the next one. That's not fine. Look at that. That still has a break in it. That was one that was made up. Oh, and we might have a short there as well, actually. Let me just tidy that off. Yep. Right, okay, sort that out a bit more later. Okay, so that second track isn't working. So track 3, this third track on here, goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, goes to pin 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's one that I didn't have to repair, but is not working. It's better it's well away from the other pin now. It goes to there, through this jumper, and out, which is a bit dodgy, and out this side, so I might just attach it up here, I think. It's just bare copper, so I'm just going to apply a teensy bit of flux to it. And I'll apply a little line of solder. In the end, and attach it to the board. Make sure it sits nice and flat so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. Cool, next. So I've repeated that with all of the connections, 6 of them in total, and then continuity checked them all. Now I've got to clean everything up within an inch of its life, remove all the flux, etc., and also clean all of the contact pads for the buttons. That way, hopefully, I can reassemble it and it'll all work, fingers crossed. So I'm just using the remote control to take it off standby, and then I'm going to check out several of the button functionalities, up, down, left, right, volume controls, DVD controls, all that sort of stuff. Up, down, good. I'll go for DVD, fine. It's there somewhere, I don't know where it is. Thread. Okay, volume up and down seems to work okay. Good. Right, left, scene selection, up, down, right, left, volume up, volume down, source, yep, P mode, yep, S mode, yep, mute, yep. I haven't tested every single button, but I'm fairly confident now, because the matrix setup of it, that I've tested enough to be sure that everything is okay. Although I could set up some stuff like some test bar generators and DVB modulators and things, there's little point. Ultimately, I'm going to test this with a few video games and things like that, so that's going to test things like the composite inputs and maybe the HDMI even, and of course the normal UHF tuner and things, and I'll get most of my tests, both of this remote control and the main unit, done that way. So anyway, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. So if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so, and of course share it with your friends, and leave some comments. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.